Well, good morning, everyone. I am Tim Kernan alongside Mike Freshwater. This is Gamecast Radio Sports Talk. Thanks for joining us. Mike, how are we doing this morning?
I'm doing great, Tim. I'm rolling on that retirement, that retirement dream, and every day's Saturday for me, so I'm doing well.
I can't wait for those days.
I know. I can remember that waiting back in the day, but I'm there, and like I said, every day is Saturday.
Well, Mike, the college football season at least has just absolutely flown by. We've already reached, we're just shy of Christmas, of course, and it is that time of year where everything's pretty much been decided as far as the college football playoff goes, and the bowls certainly that will take place really starting here in a couple weeks, and we'll go all the way through the new year. But of course, the college football playoff has been decided. Michigan, Alabama, Washington, and Texas.
Roll Tide.
A lot of controversy, of course, surrounding Alabama being chosen over Florida State. And it's kind of funny. We'll get into that. But, you know, the Michigan situation has pretty much just been brushed under the carpet.
You haven't heard a word about it,
No.
have you? Nothing. 3 ongoing investigations. The coach suspended for 6 games this season, and praise the Lord, he said, when, he gives all credit to the Lord, he said, when they interviewed him that night. But, it is absolutely not even mentioned anymore. It's amazing how hot of a topic that was for 2 or 3 weeks. And every sports talk show, every sports show, ESPN led all their broadcasts off with it. And now it's not even talked about at all.
No, totally been brushed under the carpet. And at least for now, they're going to just move on and proceed like nothing even happened. So interesting, but the rest of the teams that filled out the top 10 were Florida State, Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, Missouri, and Penn State. And getting back to Florida State a little bit, and this is my pettiness, but it's hard for me to feel sorry for Florida State when in 1993 Notre Dame beat them on the field, and then they won the national championship.
A long memory. You remember a lot of stuff.
I do.
When it comes to the Irish.
When it comes to the Irish, I hold grudges, Mike.
But I understand where you're coming from. And it's hard to feel sorry for them. But just one quick comment on that. I just wish they would have had the foresight to kind of ease into the 12 game, go from the 4 game to the 8 game, 14 to 8 team.
Yeah.
Which would have been this year, and then 12 next year. And had they done that, there wouldn't have been as much controversy. But Florida State did. You're okay. I'm okay with you not feeling sorry for them, but they did get kind of screwed.
Oh, they did.
Ohio State was in the same exact situation that year. Cardell Jones had to take over at quarterback for Ohio State. They beat Wisconsin or Northwestern 59-0 in the Big Ten Conference Championship. But exact same situation. And Ohio State went on and won the national championship that year. And you look at this year with Florida State, it's the exact same situation.
No,
and they're not in. So
I absolutely agree with you.
But somebody's going to get shut out. 5 Power 5 conferences, and not all 5 of the conference champions can get in. It's as simple as that. And this year, Florida State was on the short end of the stick.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think a lot of us feel like once they do go to the 12 team, a lot of this will be alleviated.
Absolutely.
But you're still gonna have those teams that that are 14, 15 that feel like they should be in. But I think you alleviate a lot of the undefeated situation.
100%.
Yeah, if they're usually you don't have many undefeated teams, but they're definitely going to be in no matter what.
100% correct. Any controversy that happens when there's a 12-team tournament will be very small in comparison to this one.
Well, what's your feeling about this, Mike? I know Michigan takes on Alabama, and then Washington will take on Texas. I don't know if this is me just feeling like the history of Alabama will take over somehow, but I just feel like somehow Alabama's going to find a way
I
to
can't
win.
think of a game where I hate the 2 teams more than those 2, but my hate for Michigan goes way above and beyond. I'm going to be rooting for Alabama in that game. And if I try to look at it impartially, it is going to be a spectacular kind of event out there at the Rose Bowl. I mean, I think they're the 1 and 2 most winningest programs in college football history right now. It's going to be spectacular, just a great, great event. But I'm rooting for Alabama, and we cannot let Michigan win the national championship under any circumstances. So I'll be rooting for Alabama. Sorry to my Michigan friends out there, but I think that's going to be a fantastic game, and the reaction of the Michigan people watching the broadcast when they announced
wasn't that classic?
It was like, oh shit! But I think they got the 4 best teams really in terms of of those teams in terms of how they sit today. But you know what? Georgia got screwed too. I mean, Georgia was number 1 off and on all year. Lost a close game to Alabama, their last regular season game, if you want to call it that, the championship game, and they're not in.
Yeah.
I mean, they were really, really good. They've got an argument, but
you don't hear too much about them
because they've won 2 national championships in a row, and I don't think they wanted them to win 3, but they were really good, and they deserve to be in. You probably, like I said, if you had 8 teams in this year, you would have got everybody, and it would have been cool to have that kind of an environment or tournament. But it is what it is, and you can sue all you want. I heard Florida State I haven't heard anything about this really happening, but I had heard they were thinking about taking legal action. But that's
that's going nowhere.
Correct.
It's funny that you mentioned that, but. Michigan, congratulations. You got the number 1 seed, but, oh, by the way, you have to play Alabama in the first round.
Who's really hot and playing well.
Yeah,
I said it weeks ago. You'll remember me saying this 5 or 6 weeks ago. They're laying in the weeds out there. And they laid and they laid and they laid, and then all of a sudden, boom, and they're in, and they have as good a chance of winning and going 2-0 and winning the national championship as anybody.
Absolutely, they do. The second game, or the 2 versus the 3, is Washington and Texas, and that's another intriguing game. How good is Texas?
I think they're really good.
They've run through and they beat Alabama at Alabama.
Right.
So you almost, if you're going to put Alabama in, you had to put Texas in.
Absolutely, and vice versa, really. But that's they're on a roll. They're playing well. They're really, really talented. Quinn Ewers is back. I like them against Washington in terms of winning that game, but that's an interesting matchup. Haven't seen much of Washington. I've seen much more of Texas. Haven't seen much of Washington, but they did really well, obviously, in probably the most competitive league in the nation, which doesn't exist or won't exist anymore. But 2 great games. Looking forward to both of them and seeing what happens.
Yeah, so I as far as my prediction goes for the final game, I think it's going to be Alabama and Washington. Yeah. I don't know why, but Washington just finds a way to win, and Michael Penix Jr. is just fantastic.
He's really good. It's amazing, these guys that have had average years at other colleges and then transferred like he has and went and had great years. I mean, like Heisman Trophy kind of candidate years. It's amazing how that happens, especially at that level. But I'm gonna go with Alabama and Texas in a rematch. Who would have thought that was going to happen 2 months ago? But Alabama and Texas in a rematch, and I think Alabama is going to win that one. But wouldn't be surprised if Texas ends up pulling it off, and what a story that would be for Steve Sarkisian and the Longhorns, and really the SEC, because Texas and Oklahoma are going there next year, and I mean, for all intents and purposes, that's an all SEC matchup, right?
Yeah, absolutely, it is. You're correct. And Mike, with the end, or at least the end of the regular season of college football, brings the portal. The portal has opened. It will go on. It opened up December the 4th, a couple of days ago, and will go through January the 2nd. It really is a silly season for me, at least.
And then there's the second time.
Yeah, the second time. That will be April the 15th through April the 30th.
Right after spring games.
Correct. Right. They open it up right after spring practices. And, it's crazy. I know a lot of players enter into the portal, and it might be the last time they play football because they may not get picked up by another team. So it's I think a lot of players look at it as some sort of glamorous event, but sometimes it's very unfortunate because their college career.
I
comes
think
to
there's
an
the top 20 or 30% of guys that are really recruitable, and that teams have either already reached out to before they officially enter the portal or do immediately thereafter. And then there's a whole bunch more. I think a good half of that list are guys that college coaches don't want anything to do with. They're either having academic issues or they're having attitude issues in their program. They're having conflicts with their coaching staff or whatever. There's problems. And a lot of those guys, they'll end up playing at a lower level. They'll end up as walk-ons, maybe in a major program, but a lot of them will transfer to D2s and maybe in some cases D3s, and that's where they'll end up. And like you said, there's a lot of them that don't even end up playing again. So it's a tough proposition for some of those guys. They think they're going to be people are going to be beating down their doors, but the significant the top of that percentage, those guys are out for NIL money. They're out for more exposure, a bigger program, and they are desired. But a lot of them, they're just
sour grapes.
They really are. I mean, that's correct. Bad apples, if you will, and programs don't want much to do with them. If they can't help them, they're not gonna reach out. And by the way, there's like well over 1,200 of them now. I think something like that.
It's even more
insane.
It really is. Mike, do you think the bowl games, they have been kind of over the years have been losing their value anyways with the playoff situation, but do you think the bowl games have been ruined by the portal?
Yes.
I do.
I think they've been ruined, period. Guys all of a sudden not wanting to play in them because they're going to the draft. They left their teams, so they're not even going to be there. It used to be when we were kids, the New Year's Day bowls, we all looked really look forward to that.
Absolutely.
One right after the other, and football all day, and major programs and major venues, and that's now all. There's like 42 bowl games, and like you said, a lot of the guys aren't even with their teams. I mean, last time I looked, Ohio State has 12 guys that have entered the portal, so they're down 12 people just before they even get going from practice, and it's not the same. It is not the same.
No.
And perfect example of it is Ohio State. They opened as a 6.5-point favorite over Missouri, and then all of a sudden Kyle McCord and Chip Trainum and I don't know how many, all the rest of them decided to go to the portal. And you look at the point spread now, Ohio State is a 2.5-point underdog. I mean, it changed 8 points.
I know, that's crazy.
And what that tells you is these bowl games just don't mean anything to anybody anymore. They're exhibitions, they're scrimmages, they're glorified scrimmages. And Missouri's going to come into that game against Ohio State like it's their national championship.
Of course, yeah.
And totally prepared for and expect Missouri to win that game. And as an Ohio State fan, I'm kind of more interested in seeing, who's going to play quarterback and how they do, and the outcome doesn't really matter much to me. And sadly, that's the way it is, and that's the Cotton Bowl, right? I mean, that's insane.
I know, it's the New Year's Six Bowl,
right?
And you've lost your quarterback. Some other people are entered the portal. You have players that decide not to play because they want to prepare for the NFL draft. It's
right.
It's crazy. It goes against every fiber of my being. When I was, competing in sports, I'd want to be playing. But I get it. They probably have, agents in their ear, parents in their ear, telling them not to play and
there is one
not
example.
Get hurt.
Yeah, there is one example of that. Jake Butt, who was at Michigan at the time, was going to be maybe a first or second round draft pick, probably decided to play in his bowl game and tore his knee up and had surgery and was never the same. And now he's a Big Ten, a Big Ten network commentator. And so there's that one example sitting out there that everybody probably kind of like points to and looks at as a reason why they might make a business decision like that and not play in the meaningless bowl game because they want to protect their future. And it's hard for me to argue with that. But so there's that, but that's probably just the tip of the iceberg. It's the portal that makes it even worse, right? A lot worse, because you got so many more guys that are not going to be eligible or available to play in their game. And those bowl games they're sideshows now.
Yeah, and
but next year there's going to be, I don't know how it's going to work out, but there, I guess all the major bowls next year will be part of the tournament, and I don't know though.
That's a good thing, I think.
Yeah, if that's what they work out, that would be good. But I'm excited for that format. I can't wait. It seems like more meaningful football. But
it really does.
If it can resurrect at least the top 6 bowl games somehow and put them up on a stage like they used to be, then I'm all for it.
Totally agree. Great point, Mike. I thought we would, of course, dive into. We did a little bit with what we've gone over so far, but at least as it pertains to Notre Dame and Ohio State, my overall thoughts. I thought we'd just go over the season. I think it's been a disappointing season for Notre Dame. It certainly didn't turn out the way I know that the football team wanted, but for their fans as well. I think Sam Hartman is a great individual. I think he was a nice piece to add to Notre Dame. I don't think he performed as well as we all had hoped he would. But it sounds like he's going to play in the Sun Bowl that Notre Dame will be playing in, and I give him credit for that. So that's good. Notre Dame has had a lot of players jump into the portal. They lost a lot of wide receivers, but they have already gotten commitments from a couple of receivers, or one cornerback and a receiver, Chris Mitchell out of Florida International, who is a really talented player, and Jordan Clark, who I think is the son of, and I can't remember, he works for ESPN, but played in the NFL.
Who's that?
Clark out of Arizona State. He's a cornerback. He is transferring to Notre Dame.
Oh, okay.
And I know
Ryan Clark?
Ryan, I think. His dad works and played in the NFL, so he's a cornerback that they received. I know R.J. Oben, who is an end rusher from Duke, is visiting Notre Dame, and the quarterback, his name is escaping me at the moment. Bo Collins is also visiting from Clemson. Josh Kelly from Washington State, also a wide receiver. So a lot going on, and to me, it's crazy. There's almost like 3 recruiting seasons now in college football, one being, the regular recruiting that goes on when you try to sign your freshman class. You've got the portal, and then you got the portal again in the spring. So it's just crazy to me. But I also wanted to mention, Mike, that Notre Dame, of course, signed a new contract with NBC, and they're actually going to, and I think it's going to be an ongoing type docuseries that they're going to do on Peacock. But Notre Dame is going to do some sort of Hard Knocks type show.
That's cool.
On the program. So that'll be fun to watch that. And that's one of those things where I'm sure Notre Dame will be in charge of the editing of.
You think?
Of
you won't see all the behind the scenes stuff.
No, I don't think so. They'll probably be in charge of a lot of the editing. But Notre Dame will take on Oklahoma State, I believe, or is it Oregon State? Oregon State. They will take on Oregon State in the Sun Bowl, the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. Mike.
How about that?
Doesn't that just get you excited?
Yeah, it really does. I love Frosted Flakes.
So
that's a cereal bowl.
Yes, it is. Who belongs in the cereal bowl? So, I think we've gone over this. I think we did it last week as well, but I think it's a little bit of a disappointing season for Notre Dame. I know they had higher aspirations. Riley Leonard was the quarterback that I was trying to think of. He's going to take visits. I think he's probably going to visit Ohio State too. But it'll be interesting to see where he lands. But Notre Dame, I think you'd be dishonest if you'd say it was a great season for them. I think there's a lot of talent there. I think they're still a little deficient in the quarterback position and at wide receiver. And we talked ad nauseum about how important that quarterback position is. And I just think at this moment, Notre Dame hasn't figured it out yet. But
that's a problem because we've had this conversation many times before, and you can find a million examples of this. The quarterback, if there ever was a season and a point in time where the quarterback is the most important position in sport, on the team. It's now, and if you just look at the teams that made the Final Four, they're loaded at quarterback, and you know, if your expectation is to make the national playoff every year and 12 teams next year, you better have an elite quarterback. You really should. You really do need an elite quarterback, or just like a ridiculous defense with a quarterback that doesn't really kind of lose games for you. But yeah, you got the Notre Dame's got to find a quarterback, as does Ohio State. Apparently, they're out looking too. So if you want to win at the national level, you know, at the really highest level, you got to have an elite quarterback. There's just no question about that.
Yeah, that one surprised me a little bit. McCord jumping into the portal, but you know, I know most of these guys have an entourage around them.
And to end up at Nebraska, I mean, that is even more amazing to me. Why would you leave Ohio State to go to Nebraska? I mean, stay at Ohio State. You had a really statistically, and if you look at the end result, other than, you know, the loss to Michigan, he had a really good season for a first-year quarterback.
He did.
Come back and no matter what happens, come back and compete for the starting job, and who knows what happens. You know, you're right there. You're right there on the cusp of doing it again. And I think he just buckled under the pressure from probably the public, and I don't know what else. But gosh darn it, you know, Mike going to Nebraska. Nebraska.
It is great. When you know, when I grew up and played in sports, of course, this wasn't the college level, and it wasn't as serious as some of these guys. You know, this is their career. They're hopefully trying to make a livelihood out of it. But were you ever guaranteed a spot?
Oh, absolutely not.
I mean, I just, it's crazy.
My dad never coached a team, so my dad, you know, I didn't get the daddy ball thing, but no, absolutely not. And you shouldn't be. But things have changed, Tim, and kids are growing up entitled, and they think that all they got to do is show up, and that's not the case. And
no,
you know, Ryan Day's job is on the line every year. I mean, he's going to do what he has to do for the best benefit of the team. And when Kyle McCord asked for some kind of a guarantee going into the bowl game and next season, Day said, "I can't give you one. You're going to have to compete
Which
for the
is
job."
the right thing to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you guarantee somebody a position, they're not going to put any effort into it. They know they got it. I think that is insane. And
he's going to go to Nebraska, where, you know, it's okay to be 7-4 and not in a bowl game, I guess. I don't know, but he just buckled, I think, under all that pressure. I'm going to almost guarantee you he's not going to get as much NIL in Nebraska as he might have got at Ohio State as a returning quarterback. And whatever. I mean, you know, go to do what you have to do to be happy. But it's unfortunate that kids don't. And the portal's a way out. I mean, that just gives them a way out. If they didn't have that, you know, things would be different. They might have to stay and fight a little bit more. But yeah, it's.
I don't like the portal.
It's
I really don't. I think that the players should have the chance to transfer maybe once or twice.
You know, we've said this before. They're not going to change NIL. It is what it is. It's not going away. But the portal, they're going to. I keep hearing from relatively, you know, good sources that they're going to put some more restrictions on the portal, and we'll see. But there needs to be some exceptions to the rule in terms of being allowed to transfer. But it's too wide open now, and heck, you can't even, you know, you look around and some of these high profile quarterbacks, you know, you get confused about where they're at and who they're playing for. And this is going to be weird to see Riley Leonard in an Ohio State uniform next year or a Notre Dame uniform next year, because I did see Duke play like 3 times this year. And obviously we've talked about him on this show before. It's just weird. It's just weird, and I don't like it. And I hope those restrictions come sooner than later.
Yeah, I hope they get something figured out, because there's just absolutely no oversight to it right now. It's, you know, this isn't my saying, but it is the Wild West. It's just crazy at the moment, but agreed. Mike, any other notable players at Ohio State that are?
The two most notable are of course Kyle McCord and Chip Trainum, the running back, who had 2 good years at Ohio State. But once Travion Henderson decided to come back, there was some conversation about him leaving and going to the draft. But once he decided to come back and made that well known, at least in, you know, the Columbus circles, that's when Trainham decided he was going to leave and go find a place where he can be the number one guy, right? And he'll be able to find a situation. We'll see where he ends up, but those are the two most notable. There's a defensive back, 12 guys total. They were all role players or guys that didn't play at all, and they're seeking playing time more than anything else. McCord and Trainham are going to get money. McCord, I'm sure, got some money out of Nebraska, and McCord's going to, or Trainham's going to get some. But like I said, they're the two biggest names and the most impactful. One name not on there, which we're happy to know about, is C.J. Hicks. He's evidently not leaving, at least yet. We do have a second window of time in the spring, like you mentioned, where kids can jump into the portal. But I think the biggest names and the most prominent guys have already jumped, and it'll be a smaller list of guys come April. We'll see who's all on that list then, but that's about it. I mean, I think Ohio State. 12 sounds like a lot, but it's really not over there. They're gonna plug in those.
Well, and I was just going to mention, I know that obviously Kyle McCord jumping ship, but do they have any particular needs that they need to go to the portal for?
Quarterback.
Okay, I knew that was the obvious one.
They've got Devin Brown, who's decided to stay, and they have a kid coming in who's a 5-star quarterback. They call him Aaron Noland. He set all kinds of records this season as a high school senior. He's committed and not changing his mind, and he's coming. Position group wise, if Marvin Harrison does end up leaving, and he hasn't announced that yet, but if he ends up leaving, they might need a wide receiver. I think they're okay, especially if you look at their recruiting class. I think it's second or third in the country from a ratings perspective. So they're right there.
And I was always really interested in the recruiting, Mike, and even that has kind of lost a little bit of its pizzazz with all this craziness going on.
It has.
Well, Mike, you and I called the state championship last Saturday night up in Akron, Ohio. Alter High School took on Glenville, and unfortunately, it wasn't as we hoped. Glenville won that ball game 38-3. And, as hard as it is for me to sit here, because, of course, I went to Alter and you and I call the games. We're Alter fans. But Glenville pretty much dominated the ball game.
Right from the beginning.
Yeah, I thought at least offensively. We talked last week on our preview of the game. We felt like if Alter could move the football, if they could sustain some drives, that maybe they could be in this game, and they just couldn't do it. They had a couple of drives that looked promising, but it just seemed like Glenville, every time they needed to make a play, they did.
They converted third and fourth down plays, one of them deep inside their own territory to keep drives alive. They were bigger, they were faster, they were just more athletic. Obviously, aside of all the penalties they have, they're pretty well coached. We were never in it. They took the opening kickoff, and 11 minutes later, they scored a touchdown, and then we fumbled on the first play of the game offensively, and that was all she wrote. And Glenville, not too long ago, was a D1, D2 school. I'm not going to go into the details of all the history in terms of how they got to D4, but as long as they're D4, I don't see anybody that's going to be able to beat them. To me, after having watched all of those games last weekend, and what I saw on the field, they were the second best team in the state, any division. They would have beaten, I think, if they had played them again, Massillon and Hoban, who played in the D2 state championship game. They would not have beaten Lakewood St. Ed's, but they could have won almost any division last week, and they're going to be there for the going forward. They're going to always, obviously, they're kind of like Alder. They're always qualify for the playoffs, and as long as they have talent like they got now or had last weekend, they're a force to be reckoned with at the D4 level.
Yeah, I thought the Alter kids played very hard. There were instances on defense where Alter would they would penetrate, they'd get in the backfield, but they'd hit Jones behind the line of scrimmage, and then he'd carry the pile.
He was
for
probably,
8 yards.
we're talking about their running back. He was probably, he was or is bigger than anybody I think Alder had on defense, 5'10", 230 pounds, and he was fast. Going to Kentucky, I think he's almost committed to UK.
Correct, yeah.
SEC football running back. I mean, come on. It's sometimes you just have to, acknowledge the other team and say that you're better and you beat us fair and square, and move forward. And really, in a game like that, I guess I'd rather probably get beat soundly than lose on a last-second field goal. That would be because those kind of games, you look back on every single play and think about what you might have been able to do different, to change the outcome. In that game last week, there was no change in the outcome.
Yeah, but it was a great season, Mike. I mean, the boys, the Alter Knights finished 12-4. Started off, I believe, 2-2. And then just kind of went on a roll. They did get derailed a little bit by Baden, but even that game was the game that they were in all the way till the end and certainly had a chance to win. Baden scoring late to take the lead and won. But a great season for Alter. And another thing I wanted to ask you, Mike, is, it's a very young team. Alter does lose some seniors. They lose some key wide receivers. In fact, that's going to be a position where they're going to have to find some answers in over the off season and in spring, in the spring heading into the summer. But do you think that this team was maybe a year early? Again, I know they ran into a buzzsaw in Glenville, but do you think that they achieved things that they were hoping maybe to do this next year, a year early?
I think so. I mean, that's current sophomore class, to juniors to be, was who they were kind of looking at as kind of the core piece for something they can use to make a deep run. So maybe a little bit ahead of schedule that way, but Alder always seems to find a way to fill in the gaps when they have graduation. They only lost 4 or 5 seniors last year. So I don't think it's a real surprise they made a run this season, but I think the next 2 years they have a chance to really do something even more, and that is to go all the way, win the league, which they haven't done in a while, and then go all the way and win a state championship game. But if they have to compete with Glenville once they get that far, that's
yeah.
I mean, really, but I think that's a fair assessment, and barring any kind of bad rash of injuries or anything like that next season, I think they're good. They're set up again to have a really good year, and then I think first and foremost to win the GCL co-ed.
Yeah, they have some key pieces coming back.
Yep.
Gavin Connor, the quarterback, will be a senior, but boy, Henry Riefschneider on defense was absolutely fantastic this year.
They're going to miss him.
And
the first team all state Division IV defense, he and Michael Russ both, and they're going to miss those guys. And there's always gaps that you have
Henry
to fill.
will be back.
Oh, is he only a junior? Okay.
I thought he was just a sophomore.
Not Henry.
Maybe junior.
Yeah, but they got gaps to fill. There's no doubt about that. Yeah, no doubt about that. And he, but they'll reload. Alder doesn't rebuild; they reload. And there'll be some new names popping up, both on offense and on defense. And it's going to be fun to once we get there to watch them play again.
Well, it absolutely will. They should have another nice season, and we'll see how far they can take it. But great season for the Knights. They end 12-4 and make it all the way to the state final, but lose to Glenville. But great season, winning that regional championship. We talked about it before, but that you don't want to overlook that. That's
just getting
great
to
accomplishment.
just getting to the state championship game to me, or even the state semifinals, is a goal, and anything that happens after that is icing on the cake. So it was a fun run, and it was fun to go to Canton and call the game from Tom Benson Field and Stadium, and hopefully go back next year.
Yeah, up in Canton, Ohio, Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium, which used to be Fawcett Stadium, but. Right. Yeah, that was impressive. Mike and I got to call the game from, I would say, a posh luxury booth up top the press box at Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium. That was sweet. And it was great to have a chance to be in a situation where you get those lifetime stats, Mike, that was fantastic.
That was fantastic. That's how the big boys roll, and it's fun to have some of that information and those amenities at your disposal.
Yeah. And speaking of pro football, Mike, it continues to be completely unpredictable, but the AFC North, which is predominantly the division that you and I are interested in, but you got the Ravens at 9-3, Steelers at 7-5, Browns at 7-5, and the Bengals at 5-6. And the Bengals shocked me once again. They've done it both ways: shocked me losing and shocked me winning. A game that I absolutely did not expect them to win, but they defeated the Jaguars on Thursday night, right? Or was it Monday night? Monday night.
Yeah.
Or no, it was Monday night.
Yeah, Monday night.
And boy, Browning, the quarterback for the Bengals, really performed well. I don't know if you watched that ball game or not, but really impressed by the way he
AFC Offensive Player of the Week was he, and he had a fantastic night and really kind of surprising against a pretty good defense. But Zach Taylor's a really good offensive coach, had a good game plan to help him out. And that kick at throw the ball, he was really, really good in high school and had a great season, had a great career in college. And I think, I mean, I said it before the game, I thought he was going to be a nice backup and a good replacement. And man, did he, I think he outperformed everybody's expectations except maybe his in that game Thursday night.
Yeah, the Bengals winning 34-31 in overtime with the
Monday night.
Or Monday night. I keep saying that. McPherson with the field goal in overtime. Yeah, he's fantastic. Did you see the highlight of that, Mike? I think he thought he missed it.
Well, I did too, actually.
But it snuck right in that left upright.
Now he's money, man. He really is good and one of the best in the league. And you got to have a good kicker in the NFL. It's right behind the quarterback, man. You got to have a good kicker. It's one of the reasons why the Browns have had decent success this year. Is their kicker has not hurt them, and you got to have one. If you look at the teams that are at the top, they've all got good, reliable kickers, and hugely valuable.
So, yeah, Browning coming in, taking over for Burrow. I think Burrow has been instrumental as well on the sideline, helping him out. But, yeah, you nailed it nailed the nail right on the head there. His performance was absolutely fantastic, and as Bengals fans, it gives you a little bit of optimism. I don't really see the season going too far, but it's certainly not over yet. But we'll see what happens. They're gonna take on the Colts at home this Sunday, tomorrow. I think that's a winnable game. I think the Vikings is a winnable game, and I think they can possibly beat the Steelers away. But the Chiefs and the Browns, the two ending games there at the end of the season, those are going to be tough.
Probably need 10 wins to get into the playoffs in the AFC, and so
going to be tough.
They've got to win 4 of those, and it's going to be tough, although not completely out of the question.
No, and going to the Browns, Mike, Joe Flacco. I thought he performed very well in the loss at L.A. I think the Browns absolutely could have won that game, but made some mistakes. Absolutely. And are they a playoff team with Joe Flacco?
Yes, but I would like to see one more week of that. But yes, the defense let them down last weekend, which is unusual. So hopefully the defense can kind of regroup and get back into the mode that they were in prior. We got 2 teams, one team that's really good on the road, Jacksonville, and another team that's been really, really good at home in the Cleveland Browns, and that's going to be an interesting game. But I think Flacco, he looked unflappable, which you would think he would with all the experience that he's got to come off the street basically, and in 2 weeks be able to do what he did. He threw accurate passes. He had composure in the pocket. He's won a Super Bowl. Yes, I think that they can make a deep run with him, but they have to keep doing it defensively, or it's not going to happen.
Well, in the remaining schedule for the Browns, they got the Jaguars at home, Bears at home, Texans away, Jets at home, and then they play the Bengals down in Cincinnati. So pretty favorable schedule for them.
Yeah, but there's just no gimmies in the NFL, man.
Boy, there isn't.
It's like you said, some completely unpredictable. You could look at their team's win-loss percentages and derive ease of schedule or strength of schedule statistically, but it really doesn't matter. I mean, you got to go out week in, week out and compete and win. And but they do control their own destiny, and that's not something they're used to doing this late in the season. And hopefully they can do something here. They're going to need 3 wins out of those games to get to the playoffs. I think 10 wins gets you in. 9 is a little bit on the shaky side, but it's going to be interesting down the stretch with all these teams kind of all in the same, other than the Ravens and maybe the Chiefs, these teams all in the same kind of area from a one-loss perspective, and it'll be interesting to see who kind of shakes out. I think that injuries are going to be absolutely 100% the difference. Teams that can stay healthy down the stretch and are healthy this late in the season, and the healthier teams are going to be the ones that have success.
Yeah, without a doubt. But Joe Flacco is their starting quarterback going forward, don't you think?
I think so. Stefanski has not committed to that yet, but I think he's just playing games with Jacksonville because Dorian Thomas-Robinson, his style and what he brings to the game and how he runs basically is a much different quarterback than Flacco, and I think he's just given the Jaguars something to think about. But I would be shocked if Flacco doesn't start on Sunday.
Oh yeah, I would be as well. Mike, we'll hold off on picks of any of the college games till the next coming weeks.
Agreed.
But
Absolutely,
we will do some pro. But wanted to give a little update on our picks, at least so far through the season. In the pros, you are 20-27. I am 31-16. And in the college, you are 27-18, and I'm in 22-23. So tale of two sides.
Yeah, that's
right
really
there.
strange to be that much different on both of them. But I'll take the pro number.
Yeah, if you would take my picks and go bet on the pro,
right.
and if I would take your college, we'd be rich men.
Yep.
We absolutely would be.
That's exactly right. Or I should just bet opposite of what I think when it comes to the pros.
Now I'm hoping you can maybe give me some lines here, Mike, on these games. But I thought we would maybe wager maybe a game or two more in the pros, since we're not going to do the college this week. But I thought we would do the Colts, Bengals, Rams, Ravens, Jaguars, Browns, Patriots, Steelers, although that game already took place. We're not doing that one. That one was...
I'll take the Patriots.
Yeah, that was shocking to me. The Patriots were so
stink.
bad, but they were so bad, the Steelers.
I know.
It was just terrible.
Bad.
Seahawks, 49ers, Bills, Chiefs, and Eagles and Cowboys, which is maybe the premier game of the week.
Yep.
Arizona and Washington are the bye teams this
What's your
week.
first one?
The Colts at Cincinnati.
And the Bengals are 2-point favorites, so the Colts are getting 2 points.
I'm going to go with the Bengals, probably more with my heart than anything, but I think Browning is playing very well. They're going to be at home. They have just won, so I think the crowd will be into it, so I'm going to go with the Bengals.
On a short week, right? Haven't just played on Monday night. I'm going to go with the Colts and take the points. I mean, I got to see another week of the Bengals to believe
that's fair
in what they did on Monday night. And the Colts aren't bad. I mean, they're right there in terms of the playoffs. Gardner Minshew, their starting quarterback, and has been for quite a while since Richardson got hurt. So I'll take the Colts +2.
All right, next game, Rams, Ravens. Rams at the Ravens.
Rams are at the Ravens. And that is scrolling through my DraftKings.
Ravens playing very well. I think they were on a bye last week.
The Ravens are minus, so the Ravens are 7.5-point favorites at home. Ooh, so you can get the Rams +7.5. Who looked pretty good against Cleveland and have been on a little bit of a run lately.
I'm gonna stick with the Ravens though. I just
7.5.
Yep. Okay. I'm gonna go with the Ravens.
You know what I'm thinking?
Yeah,
I'm
you're going the Rams.
I'm going Rams plus 7.5. I think they're on a little bit of a roll. They've gotten healthy. Stafford's throwing the ball well. Kupp is back. I like the Rams plus the points in that game.
All right, next game. This one is close to your heart, Mike. Jaguars at the Browns, and Trevor Lawrence was injured in the ballgame against the Bengals, but it wasn't as bad as they thought. It was a high ankle
sprain. Pretty dramatic.
So happy for him that it's not a season-ending injury. I don't know if he's going to play or not, but
we don't either.
I would imagine that the line probably reflects.
Even if he does play, it's not going to be real mobile. The Browns are minus 2.5 at home. You get 3 for being there, but they are and that line has come down a little bit with the announcement that Lawrence is at least a game time decision. But the Browns are minus 2.5 at home, man, I'm going to have to take Cleveland in that game because I just feel like the defense is going to bounce back. Lawrence is either going to be really immobile and or not playing. I think the Browns at home and the defense is going to come back. I'll take the Browns minus 2.5 in that one.
I'm going to go with the Browns as well. I think another week with Joe Flacco, he's going to get more comfortable with the offense and, the little mistakes and maybe, the bad interception that they'll be able to alleviate those problems. So I'm going to go with the Browns as well. Seahawks, 49ers.
The Seahawks are plus 13 in San Francisco. So if you want to take Seattle, you're going to get 13 points. And the 49ers, who have been playing really, really well, dominated the Eagles this past weekend. Everybody's back in love with the 49ers. They're minus 13.
49ers are minus 13.
At home.
I'm going to go with the Seahawks in that one.
A big number. That's a really big number. But as well as the 49ers are playing, and just to be different, I'm going to go with San Francisco and hope that they can hold on and cover that one at the end of the game.
You kind of wonder. Number. Yeah, you kind of wonder with Vegas.
That's a big number.
When they do that, they're enticing you to go on the Seahawks, which probably means that the 49ers are going to kill them.
There's that, there's that, and also the fact that the public loves the 49ers. They love to bet the 49ers, especially at home. So, but, who knows? We'll see.
So, I'll go with the Seahawks. You have the 49ers. Next one, Bills and Chiefs. Bills at the Chiefs. And that's
an interesting game.
Might be a preview of possibly the AFC Championship.
That's basically a pick 'em. -1 are the Chiefs. So basically you're just picking the winner in this game, and it's going to be hard for me not to take the Chiefs at home. And I don't think the Bills are playing all that well, and they've had their struggles. And then you had this thing this week where the coach was using the 9/11 terrorists in some kind of a motivational speech he was given, and that made news. And the Chiefs are at home, and they lost last week. I'm going to go with the Chiefs to bounce back.
And I missed it, Mike. What are the Chiefs?
It's -1. It's basically just pick the winner.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Chiefs as well. I think the Chiefs have kind of stumbled a little bit, but I think they're going to come back and win that one easily. Eagles at Cowboys.
That's probably the game of the week, isn't it?
Yeah.
At least for the public and ESPN and all those guys. Cowboys are at home -3.5. Eagles got lambasted last week by San Francisco. Cowboys are on a roll.
So you're going with the Cowboys -3.5.
I am.
All right, Mike goes with the Cowboys. I'm just for fun. I'm going to go with the Eagles in that one. So we'll certainly compare notes next week, see how we did in that one. And Mike, that brings us to the point of the show where we're getting close to wrapping it up here, folks. But we'll do a little yes, no, maybe here, and that is when I make a statement to Mike and he agrees, disagrees, or says possibly. So that's what we call our yes, no, maybe section. Just a couple of questions today,
sure.
Mike, a little handful here, but wanted to start off maybe with a little Christmas theme here. But my first statement is Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
Dude, I hate that argument. It's not about Christmas, but for some reason they play it at Christmas. And so I'm going to say yes, because it only comes around at Christmas time, really, in terms of its popularity. I've seen news article somewhere where they're actually playing it at movie theaters. So I'm going to say yes.
I'm going to say it is too. And you're right. It's not necessarily about Christmas, but
It's
the
not
movie
John,
is
right.
filmed. The dramatic time is
Correct.
Christmas.
Yeah.
So I always kind of feel like it is too. And, when I remember actually going to that movie in the theater, and I thought it was a great movie, but it was released during Christmas time
Right.
as well. So,
Right.
so I'm going to agree with you. I think that's a Christmas movie. We'll stay along those same lines, Mike, but the old Christmas movie, White Christmas, with Bing Crosby and Danny Kaye, is the best Christmas movie ever.
No, absolutely not. Elf is, though I do like watching the old that old movie, and I love the music and Bing, but no, I'm going to say no. It's not the best Christmas movie.
I think it is.
Yeah.
I think it is the best
I thought you were going to
Christmas
say
movie.
that. Yeah,
But I will agree with you. Elf is a close second, and Elf is fantastic.
there's a lot of them
That
nowadays.
has already been out like 20 years.
I know.
Can you believe
it's
that?
insane. There's a lot of good Christmas movies. I mean, Christmas Vacation. I mean, how can you not like that? We watch that
that's
every
another
year.
yearly classic.
And the Christmas Story, and I mean, there's a lot of them. But I don't.
You'll go with Elf.
I'll go with Elf.
All right. And now we'll get a little bit into football here, but Alabama will win the national championship
I'm
this
going.
year.
Yes, I've already said it. I'm going to bet them. I think they're going to beat Michigan. I think they get a rematch with Texas and they win that game. I said it. I called it weeks ago. I said Bama's laying in the weeds out there, and I'm sticking with it. I'm going to go yes.
I agree. I think Alabama's going to find a way to win it again.
They're not the favorite.
They're not the favorite. And I think Washington definitely has a chance. I don't know why, but I definitely agree with you. We were talking about it earlier in the show, but I think Alabama will just find a way to beat Michigan. I don't see Michigan beating Alabama. I think they're going to be intimidated. And I think Alabama will just find a way to win. I think they have better athletes, and they've got Nick Saban, and he's been there, done that.
Michigan's the favorite. Alabama's the second favorite, and then Texas and Washington. So, I'm going to go Alabama.
All right. And a final yes, no, maybe question for the day, Mike. This is, I think this is kind of an interesting one, but Joe Burrow is the best transfer ever.
Yes. Yeah. How can you not say yes? Though his first year at LSU, people forget, was pedestrian. I mean, it wasn't a great year, but he led them ultimately to the national championship and became a number 1 overall draft pick. I'm trying to think who might be competing with that argument. No names come to my to the tip of my tongue real readily, other than him. So yes.
Yeah, I agree. I think he is. But, early on, certainly, football from 15, 20 years ago, you just didn't have a whole lot of that.
No, you didn't.
But so it's more of a recent question. But I agree. I think Joe Burrow should be classified probably as the best transfer ever in college football.
You would find it would be hard to find anybody to argue with you on that.
And Mike, I thought we would give kind of maybe a season helmet sticker to a player.
Yep.
I'm going to put my Notre Dame kind of biased hat on, but I'm going to go with Xavier Watts. He's going to get my maybe a season achievement helmet sticker, if you will. Xavier Watts won the Bronco Nagurski Award, which is the best defensive football player for the year. He led the FBS with 7 interceptions and 47 tackles, and he's the first Irish player to have 2 interceptions in back-to-back games since 1996. And I think Manti Te'o also won this award. He was the last Notre Dame player to win this award, I believe. But Xavier Watts, he's the opposite side of what we've been talking about, Mike. He came to Notre Dame as a wide receiver, was moved to defense, was actually moved back to offense, and then went back to defense. And it was all based on what Notre Dame needed. And he's a player who stuck it out. He's a player who didn't jump ship. and he stuck it out. And I'm just really happy for him. Good for him. Winning that award is huge, and he has not made up his mind yet. He has more eligibility, and he may come back to Notre Dame. I wouldn't blame him if he decided to go to the NFL, but I hope he comes back, because certainly Notre Dame could use him next year. So he gets my helmet stick.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with, my rose-colored glasses too, although I think this is legitimate. Marvin Harrison won the Fred Biletnikoff Award as the best wide receiver in the country just the other day. And he is the first Ohio State Biletnikoff winner since Terry Glenn in 1995. Ohio State has had 8 wide receivers taken in the first round of the NFL draft since then, but none of them won the Biletnikoff. Marvin Harrison won it. Statistically was a little bit behind the kid down at LSU, but Malik Neighbors. But Marvin Harrison was, got a lot of attention, and despite all of that, in every single game, he still put together some pretty good numbers. Caught 67 passes for over 1,200 yards and 14 touchdowns, and like I said, was the focal point of all the opposing teams' defenses in their schemes.
Absolutely.
And so he's won the Fred Biletnikoff Award. Now the next question is, he's going to New York. He is a Heisman Trophy finalist. He's one of the 4 guys going. 0 chance of winning it. But he is going, and that's cool. And we await word from him in terms of whether or not he's going to come back. There's some thought process out there, and he's even made the statement recently that he hasn't decided yet. So if he comes back,
yeah, that'd be huge for Ohio State. And it was a question I was just about to ask you, so you answered it. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he decides. Certainly could definitely see him going to the NFL if he wanted to. But
at least as of right now, he's not, and he's going to play in the bowl game against Missouri. But if he comes back, he would be an immediate
6-star recruit.
He would be an immediate Heisman Trophy finalist candidate, and certainly help whatever quarterback plays next year, help their chances of having a good season as well.
And Mike, you and I we're going to start calling high school basketball games. We also call the games for Alter High School. So we'll be diving into that in the coming weeks, and college basketball as well. But again, you actually coach for Alter, but then you come up with me and we call the game. But maybe give a little preview on the Alter basketball as we head into the season. They're 2-0, opened up with Hilliard Bradley, won that game in the Ohio Valley Hoops Classic, and then last night we called the game against McNicholas, a fellow GCL foe. But the Alter Knights look very, very good.
Yeah, we are looking good, and we knew we had a chance to be pretty good. It's early in the season; we've got some things to work out, but we're pretty talented. We're really long. We have some good depth, 3 really good guards. We were talking last night that it's going to be really hard to catch us on and off shooting night team wise, because we have 3 or 4 guys that can really shoot it, and you're usually not ever going to get 3 or 4 guys having a bad shooting night. If one is, the other 2 are going to pick them up, and vice versa. So, I think for us, it's just a question of how much better we can get defensively, and we're going to be good offensively, but how much better we can get defensively. And we have a tough schedule, very tough schedule this year, Tim, and so we're going to get tested. But this team has a chance to be special, make a deep run, and maybe, who knows, do what the football team did. That's certainly our goal, and it's going to be fun to watch them. We're heading down to Hilton Head a week from Wednesday for 3 games. Can't wait for that. Going to meet up with and see Dusty Hayes while I'm down there, and it's all good, man. I'm really excited.
Yeah, a lot of depth and a lot of talent on that team. Going to be fun to go out through the season and provide updates. But yeah, it's going to be fun for you and I as well.
Oh, absolutely. I get the best of both worlds, coaching and then sitting up there, and it's really hard for me to watch my watch myself.
Yes,
when I'm broadcasting and and coaching in my mind at the same time. But it's a lot of fun, and I know people enjoy the broadcast, and so I'm really happy to be able to do both.
All right, folks, that's going to wrap it up for us today. Thanks for joining us for Gamecast Radio Sports Talk. Enjoy the sports today. We'll see you next week. Have a great week. And we'll see you next time on Gamecast Radio Sports Talk.
Goodbye, everybody.